everybody. Hopefully this time we are up and running and we don't have any problems like we had last night when we tried to do the business stream. Looks like YouTube was in the process of changing out their software and that for streaming, and so we were kind of being thrown between the new version and the old version as we try to get things done. But welcome to this. This is the first live stream that we're doing. We're giving this a try, and we're going to see if in some way that this is going to be helpful to all of us and that kind of thing. And we also know that the fundraising pop-up workshops, I'm just telling you in advance, the next pop-up workshop may still be within a quarantine time, a lockdown time or whatever. So we may choose to run that particular workshop as well on the streaming service. So this is new ground for us as well. And as we also, as a web design company, try to cope with the situation and help our clients, and also to help our non-profit organizations with the whole fundraising thing at this point in time. Very difficult situation, very difficult timing that things have had. South Africa's been in a very difficult economic situation as it is, having to deal with 9 years of corruption, and then on top of that, issues around Eskom. I know, for example, as well, even some of the municipalities are struggling at the moment. I had news this morning that in Kempton Park, a substation blew up yet again. And I saw an article just a couple of weeks back by the DA councillor for the Kempton Park ward stating what poor condition that entire electrical system is in at this stage. So yeah, it's a challenge. We're living in challenging times, and then right on top of all of this, COVID-19 comes along and starts disrupting everything again. And so South Africa is now in a recession, which basically means that we're going to need to start having a look at how we are going to move forward in terms of fundraising in the midst of not only a recession but a pandemic on top of it. So I've been monitoring the news and everything very closely and seeing what organizations are doing, not only here but in other countries, in terms of the fundraising situation. And it seems that I'm kind of beginning to look at this whole situation as, on the one side, yes, it's negative. Yes, businesses are shutting down or closing doors for now because they have to. They don't have a choice. There are many businesses that can't work online, especially the production line companies. A colleague of mine here just next door told me this morning and that his entire factory of 48 workers had to stop working today now, and they basically ready for lockdown, and that's it. There's no money coming in and no money coming out. So in small to medium enterprises, it's going to be difficult in some of the sectors, not all of them, but some of the sectors. But we also got to remember that even in the midst of this, there is still a lot of cash around in South Africa. There's still a lot of goodwill. We looked at Old Mutual that gave 50,000 Rand that to the feeding of children that in previously disadvantaged areas, children that have been sent home, and they're giving it to organizations that are working in those areas that are able to actually distribute food to those people. That's just one example, but there are a number of people that basically are not able to work and earn a living at this stage. So we've got to kind of be sensitive how we go about the fundraising situation at the moment. And so I just want to advise you that anything that we discuss now in these sessions are geared specifically to help you. And I see Karen wants to add Liesel. Karen, just send a WhatsApp Liesel the link that's at the top of your browser, then Liesel can join the seminar as well. There's no login required, so if you folk have anybody else that you would like to add to this particular chat, please go ahead. The link is at the top in your address bar of your browser. You can take that and you can send that out to them. Okay, so moving on to that in the terms of this, let's just begin to take a look at what are some of the things that you as an organization can do. Now, before I go any further, okay, I would like to say to you that use the live chat to ask questions. This is going to be a two-way discussion, but given the nature of the number of people that are involved, we cannot run video streams and that for everybody. So this is actually the best way for us to do this if we are going to include a lot of people on this. And this, I hope, will not be the first or the last stream that we do. As we go through this crisis, it's our intention to be able to do much more than just one stream on this. Okay, so what I would like to also tell you up front is that we are, those of you in that who know our fundraisers corner that's on our website, you can actually go there and you can pick up off our website. You can go and you can pick up on the fundraisers corner some articles that we've posted there. I'll refer to these as we go along, and you can see that if you've logged in, you will now have videos, events, articles, and donor force, which is what Tyron did so nicely for us. It's nice and neat and looks really great. So under articles, I'm going to be referring to a number of these articles. We've uploaded quite a few new articles today, and you can go and you can just browse these and get these articles. There's a lot of valuable information around the COVID situation there. So it's important, though, that at this time that you are able to get as much information as you're able to and work with that. All right, so if there aren't any questions at this point, I'm going to move on. I will be checking for questions as we go along. Okay, so first thing I want to say is that for this fundraising time, what you need to do, or this time of lockdown, what you need to do is to take a look at your organization and identify your needs. Okay, so that's going to be the first thing. Okay, and your needs specific to the situation as it is now and what will happen when we come out of lockdown. Now, the reality of all of this is basically this, is that we are not going to be in lockdown forever. Okay, right now it seems like it's disastrous. It's like this big mountain that's in front of us. We see and we hear a lot of news about companies that are going to go bankrupt and stuff like it. And in all reality, yes, some of that is going to happen. But also, some provision has been made in order for companies to be able to get some form of bailout from the government and others that are in the process of putting money into a fund that you can use to, or you can apply to, in order to get some relief. So, having said that, okay, the first thing that I would suggest that we all do as organizations, and that is you need to develop a fundraising project that is specific, absolutely specific to the crisis. So in other words, identify what are your needs at this time for the next month. Okay, now we know we're going to be in lockdown for at least 21 days. Who knows what's going to happen after that? If we follow the same process as the UK and the United States, chances are they're actually going to lift that lockdown and carry on pretty much reasonably normal after that. The biggest problem I'm seeing with the COVID situation at the moment is not so much the fact that people are getting it, and yes, they are trying to prevent that and to flatten the curve, as the term is, but the reality is being able to provide adequate medical assistance to people who are struggling to breathe, especially. Respirators are a problem. Okay, it doesn't help to use masks. Even the medical staff have to use respirators to keep this virus out. So, the biggest need at the moment for the government at this stage actually is not to overwhelm the medical faculty. But we all know, and it's been made pretty clear now, that this virus is here. It's going to be here for a while. But the reality is that we are going to need to work with it. And at some point, they're going to have to lift the lockdown again, and we're going to have to move forward straight after that. So develop a fundraising project, find out, identify your specific needs, okay, for now and going forward. And that's going to differ from organization to organization. And the reality is that unless you can identify those needs, you can't actually communicate those needs to anybody. So go and check what your needs are. Is it salaries for staff? Is it going to be a project, a food feeding project? Are you an orphanage or a home where you need to be able to have people, you have children to feed, you have medical needs, and all of these things. So you will need to go and identify what those needs are and create a project. Now, it's important that a project contains at least the following elements. Number one is what we call the cause. What is it that you need for what purpose? Okay, what is the purpose? What is the need out there? Okay, it's a case for support. If your organization doesn't have a case for support document yet, then it's important that you actually go and sit down, and we are going to, on our website, under the fundraisers corner, we are going to actually put a case for support document on how to create it and what it should contain. But for now, it's sufficient to say, number one, it's got to contain the actual project information. Who is the money for that you want to collect? How are you going to manage this whole thing? Who is the group of people? What is that need? So that's got to be there. Then secondly, what's become much more important today is a budget for that project. If you're looking to attract a reasonable sized donation from any company or donors, support group, the bottom line is that they're going to want a budget from you, and the budget's got to be broken down. So let's say, for example, it's food and medical, etc. You need to break it down for them, and you need to indicate in the project what it is. Okay, food, breakfast, lunch, and supper for X number of children. Your project is going to be including, for example, electricity and water costs this much per child. This is the total of what we are looking for. And then also your medical needs. Okay, there's going to be medical needs at this stage, so you need to indicate what those medical needs are as much as you can project those medical needs. So the important thing is to put all of these things down in the budget. Now, there's one other rule that you need to be aware of, and this goes for pretty much any project that you want, unless you are asking specifically for somebody to sponsor your staff, and that's this: you must not have a line item for administration. Okay, if you start circulating that kind of information out, what's going to happen is that you would be in a situation where people are going to take a look, or a business is going to take a look at it, and they're going to give you everything that you've asked for minus the line item, okay, for administration. Companies don't like to be told they're paying for administration. So what you do is you take a look at your administration for your project should never be more than about 10 to 12% of the overall project cost. So what you need to do is you need to include that in your line item. So if food is going to cost 100 Rand, then it's 112 Rand. Okay, that food's going to cost. And basically, under general practice and rules, it's acceptable to take 12, even up to 15% off of the line item, which will then cover the costs of the of the administration that you want. So please try to avoid using in a project trying to use a line item called administration. It generally does not work. Okay, so we have a question here. Kathy has asked, what would you call a case for support when you put it onto your website? Do you need to give it a specific name? The answer to that is no. A case for support is not a document that you actually spread anywhere. A case for support is actually for you, for your organization as a whole, to understand exactly what it is that you do and what you're going to ask for. From that, you can create your brochures from information that's inside that document, and also you can get your web information and that your web page, your projects, etc., and donor force, and all of those things, and that are you get all of that information out of the case for support document. So the case for support document needs to contain everything related to that project. It needs to be as detailed as possible, with as much information about the project as possible. So you might find that your case for support document can even end up being 8 or 9 pages because you've specified everything there. But anybody on your staff that needs to either send out an email about a project or needs to use donor force or whatever, what they can do is that they need to be able to take their case for support document, highlight what's important there, take that information and stick it straight in there. And that way you keep consistency over who is distributing what information and where. It means that you're going to have consistency between your website, you're going to have consistency between emails, you're going to have consistency on social media. If you don't have that consistency, people are going to back off from donating to your organization. So Case for Support is a document that is internal only. It does not get published anywhere in its entirety. All right, so develop a fundraising project specific to the crisis, and you need to identify what you need. Secondly is, you need to remember that life will go on after lockdown. Lockdown is not going to be permanent. Okay, this is not the be-all plague virus that's going to kill the earth. Okay, in fact, even in South Africa, I haven't seen any figures today yet, but as of the figures that came out yesterday, we have not had a single death from it in South Africa, and we've already had some people that have recovered from it. Okay, so we need to remember that coronaviruses have been around for forever. We've had various lockdown situations, well, not lockdown situations, but epidemic situations with that. And the reality is that the lockdown is going to come to an end, and we're going to get back, and people are still going to get sick with coronavirus. We will find some form of vaccine for this thing, and ultimately things will get back to normal. Okay, so I want to explain that is specifically how this works. Okay, now I've not experienced a pandemic with a lockdown like this in my life on this scale, but when I was a military medic in that, I did within the context of the Defence Force. And again, it was a very serious flu. It didn't really get out into the community or anything like that because we locked it down. And we, out of 1,200 troops in the base that we had 800 in bed. Okay, and I was one of the 4 medics that had to deal with these 800 guys. And again, we had no life loss at all. We had a few people that got very, very sick. But ultimately, everybody recovered and life went on. Okay, so we're going to see a lot of people get sick out of this thing. And at the end of the day, things are going to eventually get back to normal. Okay, so life does go on. Okay, and you need to remember that you need to not only look at your project needs in terms of the lockdown that's going to take place, but remember what happens after that lockdown. Because I can tell you now that it's not going to just be business as usual. There's a recovery period that your organization will need to go through in order to recoup funds and to get up and running properly again. If you're an events organization and that kind of thing, yes, you're going to need to realize that you are going to have a recovery period. So also plan for projects and get your projects ready for what's going to happen after the lockdown in order to recover funds. Okay, now one easy way that you can do this or handle things right now during the coronavirus, and a lot of organizations around the globe are doing this, is basically this, is that you can take your donor list and you can divide it up amongst staff. Your staff, that if your staff is sitting around and doing nothing at home, well, here's a good opportunity for them to start communicating with donors. You may not have communicated with a donor for years. Okay, I remember when I was at Transworld Radio South Africa, I phoned a few of their donors up at one stage, and it was, wow, we haven't heard from you for the last 7 years. Okay, a situation like that should never occur with an organization. If you want to get their funds and keep them donating, the way you're going to do it is by communicating with these people. So divide your staff up, take your donor list, whether that's in Donor Force or whether it's in spreadsheets or in another content management system, whatever. What you do is you divide it up amongst your staff, and your staff will need to start making some phone calls. And that's one of the quickest ways to get funds in at this time. We'll talk more about that. Okay. So once you've done that, the next step, before I go on that, I'm going to come into the social media thing in a few minutes. I'm going to make a statement that I think is going to blow your minds as I have kind of monitored what the trends have been both in South Africa and around the world over the last few weeks. And that's going to lead us on to the whole issue of social media marketing. So if you hang on, don't leave the stream. We're going to get into some of those things as well. Okay, so you've divided your donor list up. Okay, the next step is to give your donors, give your staff some training. One other thing you can do is look for regular givers and people that support your organization that can act as volunteers. There is nothing better at all than an organization or somebody that gives to your organization, that can be a champion of your organization. If you have a regular giver and you say, phone them up and you say to them, look, what we'd like to actually do is that we would like to ask you to join us and help us out. You don't need to come in. You can do this from the comfort of your own home. But I'm going to give you 30 names that please won't you phone these 30 people that are on our list. Some of them may never have given before, but can you phone these people and promote our organization? We'll send you all the information that you need. Just tell them what it's like to give to this organization. You see, we actually forget that that your donors aren't just people out there that are like customers in a shop that come in, pay money, and off they go. They want to feel that they are part of your organization. And so they need to feel that they are actually involved and that they own part of what you guys do. And if they do, if you've got that right, then getting a donor to pick up the phone and phone somebody, if you can get a few volunteers to do that, they're going to tell it from their perspective as a giver and as a donor. They will talk about your organization probably far better than you will. Because again, we're dealing with people that have given and they've seen how their gifts have been used. So it's important that volunteers, if you can, get hold of a few volunteers to start making some phone calls for you. That would be great. Okay, so the next step in this is to give staff and volunteers some training on what they want or what they need to be saying and what they're going to do. You need to give them some training. So we have on our website, we do have some information on that. And so if you take a look at our website and you go into the articles section, you'll see that we have quite a few things. First of all, I want to show you this. There's 5 rapid ideas to fundraise during a global crisis, okay? And you can have a look at that. We've also got appeal letter samples here for you to be able to use so that you can tell stories. One of the best ways that you can assist your client or assist your donors is by telling them a story, a real life story on how funds given by somebody actually help them. Now I'm going to give you an example of that in a few minutes. I'm going to tell you a brief story. Okay, true story, brief story, but I want you to see what the effect that it has on you. Okay, right, now there's a calling your donors amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, that's the one that you need to take a look at in terms of how to go about all of these. Okay, so again, we've already covered some of the points that are in this article. Okay, and we are moving on to this, that we need to tap into the donor base and create a script. All right, so what you need to do is you need to create a basic script on what the project is about and how, and basically telling the story. It can be in point form, but create a basic script. You're not going to read the script, but your donor or your volunteers or your staff member needs to be able to go through that, be familiar with it, and then just, as we say in point 3, make it personal when you make a phone call. The first thing you're going to do is you're not going to do what I did the other day. Okay, not even thinking about this. You know, the coronavirus had just got started and that kind of thing. And what had happened was had been communicating with a client, and I wasn't hearing back from this client, and I wasn't hearing back from this client. And what happened was that I then messaged the client and said, "Why aren't you communicating with me?" And the client turned around and said, "Maybe you should ask first, but I've got the coronavirus. I am very, very ill, and I've not been able to even lift my head for the last 4 days." I felt so bad about it because I wasn't accusing the person or anything, but again, we need to exercise sensitivity in the way we do things. And now my point is, I ask the person how they're doing on the other side of the phone. I ask him, are you okay? Is your family okay? Start hearing back from the client. Okay. In here is also instructions on making the case and information about that. An example there. Okay, again, we get back to the script. Okay, make sure that you've got a script, even if it's in point form. And that, so you need to get to log in and get this article. This article is going to make a large difference to how you handle those phone calls as you make them. And this article that I've put together here is in fact based around the COVID-19 specifically. Okay, so it's important that you pick up that information so that you can benefit from it. Okay, so give them the training they need, show them what they need to do when they phone callers, when when they phone your donors and that kind of thing. And remember also, in some cases, I know that some organizations that we are working with, you guys are living literally on a shoestring budget. And so it's just be aware that your staff might be doing exactly the same, and you might need to give them a little bit towards their cell phone calls or whatever that they're making. So just be aware of that. Be sensitive to your staff and their needs as well. Then what you need to do is you need to have them call not only donors that have given before, but potential donors, people that have used your services. Say, for example, you're in the animal SPCA type services or an animal anti-cruelty services, somewhere where somebody's brought a dog or whatever and the dog has been injured or they've had to treat the dog and that kind of thing. You've got their details. Those people are potential donors and you should be following them up, okay, in any case. So if you're not doing that, now's a good time to make contact with those people and to actually get them moving or get them into the mode that maybe they can just give something, even if it's 50 Rand or 100 Rand and that towards that, but you start the whole process of getting these people giving at this point in time. Okay, I don't see any questions coming through. Has anybody got any questions at this point in time? Just just please put them on the live chat. I would like to keep this interactive, and you might want to tell us a little bit about your situation so that I can speak into that situation a bit more and take it from there. Something also to remember when people are, or when you're appealing for donations at this time, this is actually an awesome time to actually be asking for donations. You might say, but what do you mean by that? We're talking about people that are losing jobs and that kind of thing. The reality is that at times like this, there's a lot of genuine people out there and a lot of charity out there. That's the first thing. So people are giving to those causes. I mentioned it right at the beginning, but for those that joined late, just please understand that I'm just going to repeat that because it's important. People are giving, and here's something else. Okay, people are ordering online. If you're an organization that has products that are made, say for example, you're in a place that has physically disadvantaged people, whatever, but they've been able to make things, now would be a good time to start putting those things online. Okay, you could use our eShop product, for example, and we can help you get all set up with that. And what you would do is that you would then put those products online and let people start ordering online, but with the commitment that the orders will only be delivered after the lockdown. People will understand that can be put into the message that people have before they make the payment, so they understand that when they make their payment online, what's going to happen is that they will get it after the lockdown. Okay, so think about it, even as small organizations. Maybe there's something. I know one of our organizations, they actually make a brand of coffee. Okay, and again, they have several versions of that. That could go online on their website, and they can actually sell it on the website. The nice thing is that with the Pay Fast Gateway, eShop and the Pay Fast Gateway, you do not have to pay them any money unless you've made sales through the gateway. So even if you don't get any sales, you're not going to be out of pocket, not 1 cent. Okay, so right, calling donors, let's get them moving, let's try to talk to donors, and that you may have to call a donor more than once. Okay, if a donor says, well, I'm not sure where I'm at right now, there's absolutely no reason why you can't call them again in about 2 weeks' time. It might be that their situation has changed. Maybe their worst fears didn't come true, and that you can address, you can actually now ask them for a donation, and they might be more willing to give. But you're also going to get some people that are just going to say, look, I'm not interested. I don't have the money. I'm not going to be able to do it. And that needs to be respected. Okay. That doesn't mean to say you stop communicating with the person. Okay. When I was at Transport Radio, we had a donor that had given for many years. And then when the Enron crisis came along and there was a collapse in the economy in the United States, whatever, his hotel business went down the tubes. And he contacted us and he said to us, listen, I've got a problem. I know I give to your projects. I'd love to continue giving to your projects. And basically what they're saying is, I'm not able to give anymore. at this point in time. What did we do in response to that guy? Okay, it was very, very simple. We kept communicating with him. We let him know that that was fine, okay, but we wanted to maintain the relationship with him, and we weren't going to drop him or anything like that. And it was great because, you know, that relationship continued, and it took 10 years for him to get his business and everything back online, but he got it online. Okay, and it worked pretty well for him, and he began giving again after that. Okay, a couple of questions. Okay, the first question I've got here is from Kathy at BI. Common question is, my organization sees me as the fundraiser and they see no reason to get involved in my job. That is something that actually comes, Kathy, more from what we do in a situation, and not what a donor understands. Now, I know your situation, okay. You guys are only really picking up the baton on relationship fundraising now. But the thing is that as you build your relationships with your organization, what happens is that these clients and these people begin to work with you and become a little bit more involved than what they are. And I can tell you now that if you see or if your majority of your donors are medium to higher level donors, companies, etc., that is the approach they're going to take. But if you're building relationships and that at the bottom of the pyramid in the relationship fundraising model, and you are communicating with these people, you will begin to involve them in like a day, visit the college, a college open day, they get to speak to the students and things like that. Once you've got that contact and you've started building that relationship, then what happens is that these people become more willing to become involved. And again, it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, and not everybody's going to have the time to do it. But what you are going to find is that you will find a few people that you can call on. Okay. Otherwise, you've got a staff. At this time, the staff need to become the people that make the calls if you're not able to do that. Okay. So as a fundraising job, you guys have got to realize that it's not going to be just it's not going to be just a situation where it's the fundraiser's job to do that. The fundraiser becomes the coordinator of everything. And I'm going to suggest that that's the approach that you need to take, starting with your staff, but after that as well, you working with your, working with one or two people that you've drawn close to you. But difficult to do that right now, but what you can do is you can start making phone calls to regular donors and asking them how they can assist with you or assist you with the job. Some of them might have suggestions that you can use that will work for you. Okay, hopefully that answers the question a bit. Okay, Carl, you got a couple of questions here. Okay, how do potential donors react to email requests versus phone calls for donations? Okay, so here we are. Okay, looking at your situation as well. Okay, first of all, you need to realize that sending an email 99% of the time is not going to get you a donation. The reason being, if it's like me, look, I get around about 150 emails a day. So, and majority of them go to the end up going into the trash, because a lot of them are system notifications for the various services that we run for our clients and things like that. And that, so generally we don't. Okay, now, if you were to send me an SMS first, okay, and you send me an SMS this afternoon saying, tomorrow morning we are going to send you an urgent email. Please, can you open the email and read it? Okay, that already becomes a prompt. It becomes a prompt where I'm now reminded that this is going to happen. Chances are that as I check my SMSs and that later in the evening, I'm going to see that SMS there again. So I've already got a reminder or a prompt that's telling me there's an email coming. So when your email comes in the next morning, then it's, you know what, that's an email I need to have a look. Let's see what the issue is. And they'll open it. Now, if the person has absolutely no interest in your organization, they may not respond to that. If you haven't built any form of relationship with your donors, they may not respond to it. But if you have a communication going out to and from these people, you've made a few phone calls across the last few months or whatever, chatted to one or two of the people that give to your organization, chances are they're going to open that email. Okay. The point is that right now, even if you don't have that big or good relationship with your donors, if you don't have that relationship yet, what you can do is you can just simply start making those calls. Okay. It might be that you might choose to do it in 2 phases. For example, first call, hey, I'm taking the opportunity to find out how you are. I know you've got an interest in our organization. I'm just want to find out how you and your family are. And, we want to, if you're a Christian organization, we want to pray for you and that kind of thing. But just, we're just checking on you. For me already, I've had 5 of those messages this morning. Some of them on WhatsApp, where people, organizations that I'm involved with, have actually sent me a message saying, I want you to know right now that I'm thinking about you and your family, and we're praying for you. Okay, so begin that. If you haven't begun that, and you're not comfortable asking for funds in the first phone call, then you would do it in the second phone call. You'd phone them again, okay, a week or so down the line, and say, okay, this is our project, and you go through the procedures and see if they'll give. If they don't give, please don't write them off. Okay, it means that you need to communicate more and more with them, and this is a cycle of developing relationships with your donors. And once you get that donor to start giving, they give, and it's not only once. You'll get them to give on a monthly basis, because that's the target. What is better, getting people to give once only, or getting them to give every single month for a period of however many years? Okay, obviously the latter, and that's how you got to build those relationships. Okay, so Cole says here as well, he says, I feel I cannot approach a person or company and ask for a donation for a specific project for our church. Okay, if I don't know them, i.e. cold canvassing. Cole, the reality is this, is that there are companies and organizations out there that are more than willing to give, they've just never been asked. Okay? And again, it comes down to the relationship building things with them. Right now, in that you have the opportunity with the lockdown at home to start communicating with companies and people, making a few phone calls, sending a few emails, introducing yourselves, introducing your band and what you guys do and things like that. Quite frankly, I think you guys do a great job, and I think it's a worthy cause for people to contribute towards. Music is a great thing. And obviously, if the contributions are going to start helping young musicians to be developed as well, that's even better. If that's a project that you guys can put together and promote and say, after lockdown, this is what we're going to do. Okay, we would like to bring more people, and we'd like to do this, and this is the project, and this is what we need for the project, and you've got your case for support, and you put together that project. I can tell you now that you will get people that will give to it. Okay, and who are the people that are going to give to your project? It's going to be people that have a music interest. Whether it's a company, a small business, if there's somebody in there that has the interest in what you do, chances are they're going to give something to you. Okay, it might not be large donations to start with, but the bottom line is that you've got to build it up. And if you can get 20 people giving 500 Rand a month, that's already a good start. Okay, so don't be scared about approaching companies. And yes, you're going to get the answer no, and you're more than likely going to get more no's than yes. Okay, but the reality is this, is that you are going to get the yes from the people, and you are going to get funds in, and there's very few causes that I know that that won't get funding. Okay, you've really got to be in a situation where people just don't have any. It's a ridiculous kind of project in order to not get funding for it. People fund all kinds of things, and it's often by personal interest in a particular thing that they will fund. A guy who's interested in jogging and running. I don't know if Joseph is here, but yeah, if you're raising funds to be able to do a project around that, the guys that are going to give to you are it's going to be the guys that you know. Okay, that you've built relationships with, and secondly, it's going to be the people that that have an interest in what you do. It will be other joggers and that. And if you're looking at getting the younger generations involved, okay, they are the guys that give to specific things that they have an interest to. So again, how you target these things, your fundraising, and that in terms of the different generations. will determine what or how they're going to give. And if you want a great example of that, again, on our website, if you go to our website, the Friends Corner, Fundraisers Corner, have a look at the video presentation that we did at the first pop-up workshop in October last year. It outlines those generations and how to reach them. Okay, so that's a very good video to have a look at. Okay, so hopefully I've answered some of that, some of those questions, and let's move on. We'll come to the others. Okay, so we said have them call your donors and your potential donors. So basically, if I sum up again quickly, what we looked at, we said develop a fundraising project around the specific, right, a project specific to the crisis. What are your needs at this time? Secondly, remember that life is going to go out on after the lockdown. Okay, what are your project needs after the lockdown? You need to start working on that. Divide up your donor list among the staff and volunteers. Okay, then give the staff and volunteers training on what they need to say and do when calling donors. And I showed you that we already have that on our website, and you can put it together from there. All right, so now this lockdown situation prevents a lot of distractions and kind of gives you time now to sit down and go through your database and have a look at your database and see what you can do in order to get things in order. For those of you that have taken DonorForce, for some of you, you're going to need to still have a look at the whole thing of adding your donors, getting your donor records up to date. If the whole idea behind DonorForce is to be able to manage your donors, okay, and you need to have good information in the database, you're only going to manage your donors as well as your information is. And so, you know, start taking a look at where you may, for example, have an email address for somebody in a spreadsheet, but you don't have a phone number. Then what you do is email that person, ask him for a phone number, tell him you're updating your records, send them a newsletter, okay? If you're using DonorForce, it's going to be automated. Create newsletters. Talk about the situation of what you guys are experiencing in terms of your lockdown. Put that out to your donors. Communicate with them. Okay, so you can sort out your database lists of your contacts and things like that. And I would suggest that go take a look. If you're in an organization that handles, for example, animals and you have a vet facility, go and look up those records. Find out the names, phone numbers, etc. of people that have used those services so that you can start adding them as first contacts. Okay, that you can start building a relationship with those people. So spend time working on getting that up to date and getting materials together. So your next thing is prepare content now for when the lockdown is lifted. Okay, some of your websites, I'm going to be honest with you, you need to update them. Okay, one thing that we have not become good at in South Africa is updating our websites with new content. There are several reasons why you need to do this on a regular basis. The first thing is that Google wants it. In fact, they don't want it, they demand it. Okay, we can do search engine optimization for you. You can spend a whole lot of money on that, but unless you are updating your site with a blog or with a content or some testimonies or something at least every 2 or so weeks, what's going to happen is that Google's never going to put you on page 1, and if they do, you're hardly going to feature in search results. Now, what I mean by that is not typing your company name or your organization name and say, oh look, it comes up on page 1. That's not page 1. We're talking about using keywords, okay, and descriptions. So if you type into Google, for example, that I'm looking for a organization in Johannesburg that produces Bibles, okay, if your site is not relevant, if it's not reasonably updated with new content and that, guess what's going to happen? Everybody else is going to be ahead of you. Okay, so the key thing to understand is that Google wants new content, and this stemmed back from 2009, when there were a huge number of complaints against Google that Google search results were showing old content on page 1, 2, 3, and 4. And eventually Google spent millions of US dollars on a thing called Panda Update. They brought a guy out from India to Silicon Valley, and their producers. And Google has continued to expand how they do their SEO services and things. So the important thing to understand is that they put a lot of money in this. Their search engine didn't get to where it is purely because of the fact that that the people just listed with them. A huge amount of effort has been put in. One of their criteria is basically this: you need to keep your site updated. Okay, there's 205 criteria. Okay, that they have, and you need to meet some of the. Well, a lot of you, what we do, will meet that criteria, but you are not going to be able to do anything as far as that is concerned in terms of getting to page 1 if you're not going to meet those criteria. And there's some things that you need to do. I can't generate update for your site. You need to generate that, and we are here to train you and help you to update your site yourself so that you don't incur high costs, especially for organizations. Okay, I'm checking to see if there are any questions. Okay, we're new to fundraising. Janice says we're new to fundraising and don't have a great online donor page on our website. How do we ask them to donate? EFT directly. Okay, yes, this is something that you need to give attention to. Now, I'm not here just to market DonorForce. DonorForce is a great application. Organizations have put a lot of money into it. And so if we, in order to get an application that can live in the cloud on your website and that you can actually donate some money, people can donate to you on. Okay, so the key thing to understand is that people will donate through various means. So Janice, yes, you need to have a decent donation management system on your site. It would be wise to have something like DonorForce that will enable you and in fact encourage you to maintain your donor database quite well. But you will find that people will give through various means, and a lot of it is also based on what generation they are. So the older generations might still give through EFT. You might still get one or two old ladies that will go to a bank and go and deposit the money in the account, okay, directly. But EFT at the moment is still the most popular way of giving, followed by online giving, and the others seem to be paling into insignificance. Debit order is also a big one. Okay, people give through debit orders, and now what's coming out now and that we're busy working on DonorForce is what's now called tokenization giving, which is using a debit card or a credit card and authorizing a monthly gift through that using the payment gateway PayFast. And DonorForce in the next month or so, and that will have that included as well. So people don't only have to sign a debit order, they could do it through a recurring debit card transaction, recurring credit card transaction, and they can stop it at any time themselves. Okay, so it's important to realize that people are in fact going to give regularly through, and when they give regularly, they'll give through various means, not just one. Okay, so it's important as organizations that we remember that. All right, so that's the question there. Moving on. Okay, so you prepare content for when the lockdown is lifted. Sometimes it's good just to prepare some thoughts or some comments that people might have made about your organization. Put them into a Word document, keep them in your computer so you can just quickly add them to the website as you go along. Right, now the next step is this. While you're at home, engage in social media marketing as much as you can. You need to understand that people are going to be sitting behind their computers or on their cell phones, etc., over the next 21 days. So my advice to you is make those 21 days count on social media. Now, when you create a social media post, for example, in Facebook, okay, it's important to understand that you need to always drive the traffic to your website. Okay, so I'm just going to go to Facebook. I'll share my screen with you in a few moments. Okay, and I'm going to show you how to do a post and how to do posting this way. All right, so it's important that you keep this up, but you also got to be careful that you don't overdo it. If you overdo it, you're going to get blocked. So we need to be careful, and I'll explain some of the basic rules, especially around Facebook over the next little while. Okay, so now you can see my monitor and I've got Facebook open. All right, now NetWise Multimedia, for example, has a business page, and your organization might have the same. And if I go to posts and connect on posts, it should show me all the different posts that I have made. But the reality is this, is that if you take a look at Facebook's stats and figures, you'll see that business pages attract the least amount of traffic. Okay, you wouldn't think so, but it does. The two primary areas where Facebook traffic seems to be effective is on the wall. Okay, in other words, the main Facebook wall. You create posts here. Okay, and then the other is in Facebook groups. So here's the procedure that I normally follow when I want to mark, and I would suggest you look at doing the same. The first thing you need to do is just make sure that you go and find groups that are in your geographic area and start adding those groups. So for example, we're in Johannesburg and Cape Town, so there are various, you see these are all suggested that we can join. There's East Rand Advertising, and we've got a whole list of sites that we have joined, of groups. So I'm going to suggest to you that you start finding groups. Don't apply to more than 10 groups per day. Okay, you could get blocked doing that. Okay, so you want to make sure that you get groups, and you can look up groups very simply by going here and typing in, for example, Edenvale. Okay, and when you get the search results, just at the top you click on groups so that you isolate the groups. And you can see these are all groups that we belong to. Okay, and if you're not, you see here's one called Edenvale Bedford View Classics. You can join. Normally they ask you some questions. Are you selling animals? No. What are you selling? Websites. Okay. What is the area of your business? You can, if you're in Edenvale, you would say it's Edenvale, Alberton, or let's just say East Rand. Okay, so it would be East Rand, and then you have the rules and you submit. Now in some cases, some of the groups that you go to, you won't need to fill that in. You're just going to have an order to see. I'm asked now, if you have a business page, you may be asked, do you want to join with the business page, if the group allows it, or with personal. So I'm just going to click personal and join group. Okay, now you can see a request has been sent without the questions. So they actually don't require any questions to be answered for this. Okay, so you will slowly get added to groups. Now, adding a post to the group, I've created a couple of graphic ads. Okay, so I can go, first thing I do is I'll go and I'll find my graphic ads. So in here, which is, I have a folder for digital marketing. I'm just going to take static ads, and I am going to say, I'm going to use that one. Some of you have already seen this ad. Open up the thing. Now, I don't put any comment with it first because I just want to post it there. The reason I don't put the comment there is that when I start sharing with groups, the comment's going to be there twice, and Google's going to have a problem with it. Facebook is going to have a problem with that. Okay, so I just post it. Okay, it takes a few seconds and it appears. Now I have the ability to share this thing. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to share it on my line. Now I've got about 5,000 friends here. And I'm going to say this, COVID-19 lockdown. Lockdown is a great time to get your website updated. Let us help. Okay, lockdown is 2 words. There we go. All right, so basically what I want to do now is that I will always put a URL and a phone number in if there's no phone number on the ad. So I'm going to say visit https:// okay, or call 0834449800. Okay, there we go. That's all you need to put in there. I copy it so I can use it on other posts. but I posted. So now what I've done is I've actually reposted it on my own wall, but this time it has the comment in it. Okay, so what I'm now going to do is I'm not going to go back and refresh here. I'm going to go back to this, and now I'm going to start sharing this in groups. So I click that, share in a group, and I'm going to start with the Edenvale groups. And then I go and I post. And then I'll move to the next group. Okay, and I post in those groups. Only post once in a group and never post more than twice a week. If you post more than twice a week, the groups can block you. Okay, they might just say, no, they all do have their rules. That I find that once a week, you can see I've already got somebody that has actually liked our post. All right, so your likes and they can come in as quickly as that. Okay, so moving on. That's how I would handle the Facebook ones. You can do Facebook paid for marketing, but I think given the time that you have on your hands on that, working from home, rather work on this. It's not going to cost you anything more than your time to do that. Okay, so that's how you would do some Facebook posting and things in order to get to where you need to be in getting your word out about what you do. All right, so you would work along similar lines with the others. You can do the same kind of thing with Twitter, put out tweets, that kind of thing. Share information, but always drive people back to your website. Okay, you can promote the individual projects if you want as well. And that's also not a bad idea to do. All right, let's see if there are any questions that I can answer at this time. Okay, so Tyron has just asked the question, should we worry about Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, okay, or market only on Facebook? All right, that's a very good question. Okay, the majority of results that we have seen have been primarily through Facebook and a few through YouTube as well, for organizations and that do put, or companies that put information on YouTube. But quite literally, Facebook has been by far the best and yielded the best results. Twitter is also great for that. You can put it on Twitter, but remember that the whole following process is a bit more involved and difficult. Okay, the whole thing around that is that you want people to follow you, and you need to get the word out for that. Okay, so Facebook is the big one. You can also put LinkedIn. LinkedIn, the best way to deal with LinkedIn is please don't go and try to open a business page on LinkedIn, because they're going to bill you for it. Okay. What you do want to do though is you do want to do posts to individual people. So you can put it on the LinkedIn wall, but then you also want to send it as notifications or emails to individual people that you have on your list at LinkedIn. And that also can help. Okay. But definitely, if I was to compare the results you get from Facebook against all the others, I would say Facebook gives you about 70% result, as opposed to 30% for all the others put together. Okay. The other thing is try things like we are now, like we're doing a webinar now. Try that. Try using your webcam, etc., to put together a little bit of information about your organization, what you do in that, and go and stick it on YouTube and start sharing that URL with donors and with friends and things like that as well. That also makes quite a difference. Okay, so I would suggest that you look primarily at Facebook, but try everything. Okay, try all kinds of things. These things are not difficult to do. There are plenty of tutorials about using YouTube, and even down to this streaming, that are on YouTube, and that it'll show you how to do even Joomla tutorials on updating your site are there. On our sites, and that if you are looking to update your sites, there are articles and video clips. We are adding to those now weekly on how to update content on your website, and it's all going to be there for you. All right. So I would suggest that you look at that. So engage on social media, right? Promote your projects. Try to get people to come to your website and start giving on your website. The key thing with social media though is this: is that as you pick up people and you pick up details, they will fill in that information, have the possibility of signing up even for a newsletter on your website. Yes, it's important. That's how you get your contacts. All right, people that come up and say, I want a newsletter. That's your first point of contact. Those first point of contacts are very important. Okay. Okay, let's look at a couple more questions here. Okay, so does Google rate pictures, graphs, and charts as updates, or must it be text content only? No, everything. Okay. Google's algorithms are so well organized, okay, that they can actually see whether, and this is one of the SEO content issues, if you create a page about bathroom sanitary stuff and whatever, and you go put a picture of a cow there, Google will know that that's a picture of a cow and it has nothing to do with your with what you're writing for on the page, and they will mark it against you. Okay, their algorithms can read images, and images are primarily just a group of ones and zeros arranged in a particular way, just as any other content is. So they are able to see that. Okay, so yes, everything that you put in your website, whether it's a video clip, whether it's text, whether it's an image, they will see it as new content, and that will count positively towards you. Okay, so everything. All right, Tyron asked, should we worry about Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, okay, or only market on Facebook? We've answered that. Okay, Facebook is 70% of your time, 30% on everything else. Okay, okay, yes. Can you promote via LinkedIn? And if so, okay, I think I've already covered that question. What you do is you have a number of business owners there. The best way is to market one-to-one with those people on LinkedIn. It's not as easy to distribute to groups as you do in Facebook. Okay, what is the cheapest way to get an effective donations website online? This is one that I'm asked quite often, because organizations say to me they don't have money. Okay, the reality is that you got to spend in order to get, and even if you've got to go find a donor to go and finance a donation management system like DonorForce, then rather do that. Okay, one way you can do it, it's not an effective way, is to go and have your to open up an account with someone like PayFast and just have a button there. All right. The problem with that is that you don't get the information back that you need when the person makes a donation. So you don't have the ability to follow up. So the best way, in my opinion, the actual best way to do this, that you're going to effectively be able to grow your organization and your donor base and that kind of thing, is to use an application like DonorForce. Now, there are a couple of other ones out there, but none of them are geared to the South African market, a donation market. None of them do what DonorForce does. I mean, this jolly thing even sends out your thank you letters for you. Okay, so the key thing is rather try to find some people to invest and come and approach us. We do offer payment plans, so for DonorForce and that, and we've kept the price as low as possible. You know, originally when I was with Transport Radio, Joomla wasn't around yet. So there's no DonorForce, and we ended up going with Salesforce. Great application. Don't want to put them out there. Great application, but they're geared more specifically towards marketing and marketing teams. All right. Standard Bank uses them, but basically, for us to develop a donation component to this thing, it cost us in the region of 48,000 Rand, plus another 10 to 12,000 Rand for other tweaks done afterwards. Organizations in South Africa can't do that. Yes, that's why when I left Transport Radio in 2011, I was determined that we were going to provide something that organizations actually can use, and behind that there needed to be a sound fundraising project or program, and that is relationship fundraising. Okay, so yes, you can try keeping stuff in spreadsheets, you can do that, but at the end of the day, I've yet to see an organization where we've gone to and they've discussed DonorForce with us that actually has their act together on that and is able to use that. Instead, donors that are or organizations using DonorForce are finding that they have an entire history of donations if they've managed that system properly. They know exactly who's given what over what time, and they're able to go and thank their donors and encourage their donors to keep giving and add new donors because of the fact that they're able to say, this is what you've given. We really do appreciate it. Over the last 5 years, you've given 140,000 Rand that has made such a difference in the lives of people. Okay, so we really just want to celebrate you as our donor and just know that you've made a huge difference. Do you have any idea what that does for a donor? Okay, so the important thing then is to engage people, engage through social media, and this is a great time to do this. Okay. Question, can DonorForce only be part of a Joomla site? The answer to that is yes. Okay. When we looked at Joomla versus WordPress and all of these sites, the bottom line is that WordPress doesn't have a strong enough core of programming to handle all the functionality that's needed for DonorForce. So if we have to produce a version for WordPress, we actually have to add at least another 40 hours worth of programming just to get the whole thing up and running to the point where we can actually add the functionality that we want. Security is a problem with WordPress, and it's not just WordPress. There are others out there as well. There's Magento, there's Drupal, and a few others. And at the end of the day, the security levels are not where they need to be. So we wanted to make sure that we are going to provide DonorForce at an affordable rate. And you need to understand that for us as a company and as an organization, we don't make money out of DonorForce, we spend money on DonorForce. And DonorForce has cost us a lot of money over the last 5 years. Adding features to it, like for example, the feature that we're adding now, and that's, we've only asked the client to add a small amount, okay, to the actual cost of what the component is going to cost. And we've so far calculated that this component is going to cost us in the region of about 15,000 Rand to create. Okay, but because the client is looking for a specific feature, and it's not been requested by anybody, we asked the client to go and just help us a little bit with that. But at the end of the day, Netwise Multimedia spends far more on DonorForce than what we actually get back on it. Okay, but again, our heart is in helping organizations, non-profits, etc. What we do is, if your website is developed in WordPress, okay, and you want to take DonorForce, there are two ways we can do this. The one is that we can create DonorForce on one of our domains, a donorforce.co.za domain, okay, and it acts as a standalone with a link from your other site to it and a link back to your site. So kind of when the person crosses over to DonorForce, they don't really see the change. So you can do that. Okay, and we've got a couple of organizations that have done it that way, and it works. It works pretty well for them. Okay, so that's the one way to do it. The second way to do it is if you really want to integrate the online giving side in a nice, smooth way to do it, is actually to say, all right, what we're going to do is we're going to allow Netwise Multimedia to migrate our design and content across to a Joomla platform. So what we do is we rebuild the look and feel of your website in Joomla, okay, and then we go and add your content, right? Plus then DonorForce gets added and that kind of thing. And then it goes on your domain as to replace your existing website. Now the cost of doing that is far less for us to do it. In fact, we do it literally at cost, okay, where we do that. So for example, DonorForce might cost you 5,800 as a once-off, but a website that is 8-9 pages done in a content management system today alone will cost you in the region of 7,000 to 10,000 Rand. Okay, and we've done comparative quotes on it, and instead what we do is we charge you 2,000 Rand, and that I think is fairly reasonable. Okay, 2,000 Rand to take your entire website and bring it into Joomla, and then you have your DonorForce on that. Okay, and again, we have payment plans that can help you with that. Okay, some of you on here have been commenting about DonorForce and us developing your sites, and that's great. I appreciate that, and yes, we aim to give you the best services that we possibly can, and our aim is here is to actually help you guys as much as possible. All right, so now we're going to deal with the last item that I have here, and if there are any further questions, we can discuss those, and that is if you're in a situation now where you want to kind of increase the number of items or amount of giving that people give. It is one way you can do that is when you do your marketing is to offer a small gift. It may be a book, a small book or something like that, which you can say, if anybody that gives 500 Rand or more a month, you can get this. We will send this to you to thank you, for your gift. And then you do that. You say, as soon as the services are restored and we're out of the lockdown, we will send this gift to you. Okay? And you send them that gift. Now, if you're looking at a small book for, say, 100 Rand and your gift is 500 Rand, you're getting a 400 Rand gift there. Okay? And that's not a bad thing. You might choose that you want to do it for 800 Rand or above, depending on your organization and how your gift structure is. So, yes, do it. Okay, there's nothing wrong with doing that. I would suggest do it. We've done it in the past when I was with Transport Radio. I'll give you an idea. We did a project on the women's ministry called Women of Hope, and we sent out an appeal letter. Those days we were still able to send it snail mail, and we said we would give them a devotional book if they gave a gift of, at that stage it was 500 Rand or more. The book cost us 50 Rand. Okay. And so we said that we would send that out. We pulled in 1.2 million Rand for that particular project by offering, and a lot of it was through the book. We gave out something like I think it was about 400 books at the end of the day. So you need to check with suppliers, but ultimately offer a book. If you can give them a specific title that you're going to offer, that's even better. Okay. Otherwise, just tell them that they'll get a free gift to the value of 100 Rand or whatever for gifts above a certain amount. And then what happens is that people will actually start giving to that as well. There were times that people said to us, don't worry about the gift. We're going to give it to you anyway, but don't worry about sending a gift. It's fine. And then it's fine. You honor that. You just thank the person for that gift, for their donation and the whole lot, and you just don't send them the book. Sometimes people can be offended if you do that because now you're spending money which they feel you don't want to spend. So if somebody says to you they don't want the gift or they don't want the book, fine. Immediately you just say, okay, no problem. We won't send it to you. We'll use the money towards the project. And they're happy with that. Okay. Carl, you asked a question, must I subscribe to Donor Force? The answer is no, you don't subscribe to Donor Force. Okay, Donor Force, your website is a Joomla website, and you have the latest version because we keep our sites all up to date. Basically, what you do, we charge a one-off of 5,800 for Donor Force, okay, which can be paid off over a number of months. And then the only other thing we ask for is 350 Rand per year towards the ongoing development of Donor Force and the support that we give to everybody on Donor Force. Okay, that's all that we ask for. So it's the initial purchase of the application as well as the 350 per year. Now here's the thing, Joomla is no different to Windows. It gets updated anything up to two to three times a month sometimes. We will update your software, etc., at no further cost. Any new features that we add, you don't have to pay for. So when this tokenization for debit cards and credit cards comes in, again, you're going to get it. You're not going to need to pay us a whole lot of money for it. Okay. The nice thing on the system is that if you want a specific development done and it hasn't been requested, or we don't have it in our sites for the next 6 months or so, you can do what one of our clients has just done, is you can say to us, okay, we're going to contribute something towards it to get it done, but it's done on the open source licensing agreement for Joomla, and that is that we make it available to everybody that has Donor Force. Okay, that's one of the reasons we can keep the price where it's at, and that we can offer it the way we do is because of the fact that it falls under that open source agreement. All right. So that's a sum total, and I think I've spent a fair amount of time here kind of giving you some ideas as to what you want. Are there any other questions? If you have a question, now would be a good time to ask. Again, just to remind you to go to those different sources and pick up your letters and information. I'm going to be posting quite a lot of information into the Friendship Corner over the next while. If you don't have a login to that yet, then please just WhatsApp me and I will give you a login so that you can go in there, okay? But we're going to be posting a lot of stuff. There are a number of fundraising consultancy organizations internationally as well that are sending us information, and our plan is to go and put all of that information there, as much of it as we can, to help you guys as we go through this together. Okay, what I would like you to ask you to do is this, is that if you have any comments or feedback about this session, was it helpful? Is this something that you would like to pick up as we go along? Maybe do another one in 2 weeks' time in terms of where we are at this. Then you can also please just drop me a message and we'll do that. Okay. Okay, Kathy is asking for SP Page Builder is one of the tools that we use in Joomla, and she's saying, please direct us to good websites for tutorials on SP Page Builder and Joomla. Well, Kathy, the news is that we can't. Okay, they aren't there. What we are doing is that as we now expand, and I'll certainly do some of this while we are under lockdown, is that we're going to produce some videos and that on how to add SP pages to SP Page Builder. Okay, so that you can start adding some nice things to your website and things like that. Now, normally we do SP Page Builder in the Joomla workshop, and our aim was to do Joomla workshop in April, but with the lockdown, I don't think that's going to happen. So just watch our space and your emails and that for notification of a Joomla workshop, and we're probably going to handle it in a very similar way as to what we're handling this live session right now. So hang in there, we are working on it, and tutorials are appearing more and more on our website now where we can help you in that, so we can kind of keep the costs down for you as well. And so hang in there, we are getting there. Okay, so I'm going to end off this session right now, and I will notify you. I would really appreciate some feedback as if this was useful and do we need to do it again, and then we'll pick it up from there. So I hope that you all stay safe and that you are able to avoid getting the COVID-19 virus, and that in due course that you will be able to recover if you do get it. And let's hope and pray that your organizations that you're involved with will in fact survive the virus and things, even with the turn down in the economy. So wishing you guys all of the best.